See, make sure that I'm on. Okay. Class has just begun, 10 after, so everybody could hear me. I announced 2 weeks ago that we're done with online quizzes because we just have all of the online quizzes in accordance with lecture topics that we need for Melee Lab. So we're done with all of the food products. The reason why we needed to have that done, online quiz, is that we wanted you to know the class lecture material before you start with your lab. And that's what we have done. Okay? Okay, so that's done and over with. So this week is the last week on meats, poultry, and fish. We've already had our class, Monday's class. So for the other students, you have your lab on Tuesday and Thursday. Okay? There will be no more online quizzes on the following topics, which is today's topic, table setting and table etiquette. Next week's topic will be on catering and business etiquette, and that's it. And we don't need online quizzes for 2 reasons. First of all, we don't need you to review the materials or know the materials before the lab. We don't need these topics for the lab anymore. We're done with the lab. That's why no more online quizzes. And second of all, I know all of you are so busy at this time. Projects, final exam, and everything else to be caught up. So this is why we planned it this way for your convenience, okay? So I hope everybody heard this. So I'm getting a lot of questions already. I'm repeating this to my lab already. We already had our lab, so a lot of students asked me questions. Okay, the next topic is table setting and table etiquette. Now we know already how to prepare food, all kinds of food. Now, after you prepared wonderful food, delicious food, okay, what else do you need to know? We need to know how to really set the table and table etiquette, how to eat the food, all right? Because whenever you go for fine dining of any type, you need to know how to use the silverware and how to eat and how to behave actually at the dining table. But table etiquette is actually very difficult to teach because you really have to practice it and to know it. And every culture has different table etiquette. And this is why it's good for us to talk about the Western table etiquette so that everybody, as long as you're in this country, you need to know the table etiquette in Western countries. Okay. Why is it important? You know, I taught all those topics, and I know students appreciated knowing the topics on foods. But when it came to this topic, I had more compliments about this class than any other class. I couldn't believe. They said because it's something that they never would have learned otherwise, whatever. Something that you could practice as you leave the campus and go into the world of the business, right? Fine dining or business etiquette gives you really the professional image to keep you ahead. How many of you graduating at the end of this academic year? How many of you graduating at the end of this academic year? None? You have another year? Yeah. Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. So, but anyway, after next year, you'll be able to go to a lot of different events. Whether you're going to be interviewing for jobs at a business company, any company, they generally speaking would invite you to go to a nice luncheon and sometimes dinner, generally speaking lunch. So whenever you go for interview, I'm going to be talking about some of the interview questions next time, but for today I'm only talking about table etiquette. You might be going to some places for fine dining, or might be attending some very elegant weddings. Many years ago, I was invited to a very, very elegant, beautiful wedding at Ritz-Carlton. Evidently, the bride must have paid a lot of money per person. It was very elaborate, wonderful. Everything's very formal. You know how much they have to pay, the bride had to pay at Ritz-Carlton? Everything from beginning to the end. I'm talking about cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, wine, and everything. Everything included. $500 per head. And now, I'm sure it's more expensive. Sometimes you wonder how much should I spend on wedding gifts? You know, how much the bride has spent. Not counting, you know, airfare, tickets. Sometimes they even pay for the way to get there, whatever it is. But when you get invited to such elegant weddings, again, for fine dining, you want to have proper eating etiquette. You know how to use the silverware and all that. And also cruises. How many have been to cruises? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Good. The rest of you will be going to cruises. And often they have restaurants for fine dining, and certain evening dinners will be fine dining anyway. So you will be able to practice what I'm going to be teaching today. So everything we talked about, preparation of food. Meals may be very well prepared, attractively served. We didn't even talk about decorations, how to garnish plates and all that. Too many topics to cover. But anyway, we're going to be talking about table manners and table etiquette, which must follow, no matter how beautiful the meal is. Table etiquette is so important. Everybody else is watching how you're eating, so you have to eat appropriately, I hope, after this class. And I did mention table etiquette varies from country to country. So for students, do we have international students here? No? But for a lot of international students, they really appreciate this topic because it's something very, very new, and they learned a lot. They've even written me letters from another country. One topic they'll never forget is this: they learned so much. But of course, on top of the other topics, I hope, they mentioned. Okay, basic table setting. How many of you have taken a class at, have worked at a restaurant? How many of you worked at a restaurant? Oh, quite a few of you. Good. So you know basic table setting. How many of you already taken a class in the Vista room? Not yet, because that follows this. Yeah. So for those who actually just get invited to a restaurant to eat, whatever restaurant, or have worked at a restaurant, this is the table setting you'll know, right? Okay. So if you take a look at the diagram I have, you eat with your fork on the left side with your left hand, knife in where? Your right hand. So that's the way you set the table, basically. And that's the way you use the silverware. So knife is always on the right side. Fork, dinner fork, always on the left side. Dinner knife on the right side. And how about the spoon? Is the spoon for your whatever you need the spoon for, or eventually would be for beverage, would always be on the right side next to the knife. So this is the way it should look as far as silverware is concerned. Where would the napkin be? Always on the left side, or sometimes it could be in the middle. It's okay either in the middle or on the left side. And you take a look at the diagram. Where should water glass be? Always on the right side. Where on the right side? Remember this, always at the tip of the knife, always at the tip of the knife. And where's the bread plate? Bread plate is always smaller plate, a small plate with a bread knife directly above it. At the tip of the fork, thank you. Yeah, on the left side. And this is very easy, especially the bread plate and bread knife, the most easily mistaken silverware and plate. Because it's always on the left side, and people get confused that it might be on the right side. So for those who have taken this class, you know, bread plate is always on the what? Left side. And if you forget or if you don't remember this, if you remember BMW, bread, meal, water. Water glass on the right side. Okay, B, bread, meal, water. BMW, you cannot get mistaken. And it's embarrassing when you take somebody else's bread on your right side thinking that it's yours. So your guest sitting on your right side ends up with no bread plate, which happens a lot. So do you know, you have to know this, which is the basic table setting. BMW, water, B, plate, knife, of course, always on the right side because you're right-handed. If you're right-handed, fork, dinner fork, spoon, and napkin could be on the left or in the middle. Now, this is going to be more complicated when you go to a fancy restaurant for fine dining. So I'm going to take a little more time for this. Let's take a look at the menu first. This is formal dinner table setting. And if you get invited to a very nice dinner, very expensive, at a very expensive restaurant or a special wedding, this might be the setting, especially $500 plate per plate per guest. This is what you're going to be seeing. This shakes. Okay, so let's take a look at the menu. The menu says soup. So soup is the first course. That's the appetizer. Now, if it's not soup, it could be maybe shrimp cocktail or something. But generally speaking, soup, assuming it's soup as the appetizer. The next one, take a look. We have a fish dish and we have a meat dish. So for a very formal dinner, you get 2 entrees. The first one is a mini one. The plate is a little smaller. I didn't bring plates with me today. My bag is already full and I couldn't carry any more. And the dinner plate would be regular sized dinner plate, but the fish plate would be a little smaller, maybe 9-inch plate or in between. So fish is the first, generally speaking, the first course. They remove that and they serve you the main dish. The main dish usually is what? If we've had fish, see that fish could be salmon, could be cod, could be anything fancy with a nice sauce or whatever, and it's not very big size, just small. It's not an appetizer, but it's a first course. After they remove that, it's a meat dish. So what kind of meat would they serve, generally speaking? Make a guess, what kind of meat? Beef, typically. Yeah, if it's not beef, would be what, lamb, maybe? Very seldom would they serve pork, because if they pay that much per person, they'll serve you beef or lamb. But lamb is okay. If you like it, it's expensive, it's great. But not everybody eats lamb, because there is a slight different, off flavor for some people. Okay, so generally speaking, it's beef, whether it's prime rib of beef or steak. Okay, next after that is what? Is salad. Can you imagine? Normally we use salad as an appetizer, right? For most of the American restaurants. But for a restaurant for fine dining, when you go to Europe, that's what they do. They serve you salad after the main meal. Because it's, why? Salad cleanse your palate, actually, after the main. So, not, yeah, go ahead.
Now, if we're learning American etiquette,
Yeah.
then are we going to learn
But the salad at the back, at the end, or what? But when you go to formal dinner, they do give you salad at the end. That's what it is. But of course, they do have to pay a lot for this. I'm maximizing this when you run across this. They do give you salad at the end for very formal continental or European table setting or meal. As I said, I'm giving the maximum of what you'll see, because so that it won't shock you if you see salad coming at the end. But that's what they do. As you know, it was France and then England. Those two countries started Western table etiquette. And this is typically the sequence. But when it was brought into the United States, yes, salad was served more at the end for formal dinner, even, as I said, now. But not very often anymore. You have to go to very fancy meals. I hope everybody could hear me, yeah. Very elegant and expensive meal before you do that. As I said, I'm exposing you to everything. And then everything is gone. The silverware is gone. Now the last course is dessert. Okay, now let's take a look. When you get seated at this table setting, I want you to know what to use, which sets of silverware to use for what course by just looking at this. This is where I'm going to be going next. Okay. And right in the middle, I'm going to start with number 6. Actually, number 6 is you may not have it. It's a special service plate, larger. Sometimes it's called the charger. I don't know whether you've seen it now. It's a beautiful, huge plate, not huge, wider, about this much wider than dinner plate. So I would say about 3 to 4 inches wider than the dinner plate. But it stays there. When you get seated, you get to enjoy the beautiful charger that's either gold, sometimes it's gold plated, or sometimes it's silver, sterling, or sometimes or silver plated, or sometimes it's just purely Chinaware, Wedgwood, really expensive Wedgwood Chinaware that has a wide border, beautifully decorated. It's not for you to eat on, for you to adore or to appreciate while doing the first part of the meal. So that's number 6. Okay, and then right inside number 6 is number 5. Okay, so for the first course, let's go backtrack. The first course is soup. So number 5 is the soup. It's a soup bowl on what? Number 5 is on a what? Underliner. It has an underliner or a plate under the soup. So that the underliner, because if you drip or something, it catches the drippings to keep the tablecloth clean. Basically, you want to keep your tablecloth as clean as you could possibly do for the entire meal. And I'll tell you how to do it, what would be the best way to do it. Okay, so soup is number 5. Soup bowl on an underliner on a plate. You don't serve just a soup bowl. Serve it on the underliner. Okay, just like a cup and saucer. And the next, after that's done, they remove that, number 5, which is a soup bowl is removed, and the underliner is removed. And the next course is fish. So when they remove that, they'll place a fish, a smaller serving, not the meat size, a smaller plate, as I mentioned, of very excellent quality fish for you. So they take away 5, they put another plate on. And often the charger is still there for you to appreciate, for you to take a look at and appreciate. And when fish is over, the next entree is meat. Now, by the time they serve meat, the charger plate is already removed. So fish course, sometimes they leave it there only for the appetizer, and often they'll leave it there until the fish course is done. Now the charger is removed completely from you. So now the plate setting's empty. So next, they serve you what? What is the next entree after fish is removed? Which is the next entree? Meat, yeah. So now next, they serve the meat. So the meat is served. Okay, so now let's take a look at the silverware. Which one would be the soup spoon? The very first course. Which one? Can you guess? Which one would be which silverware would you be using for soup? Where's the soup spoon? Take a look. Make a guess. Good. Who said that? Perfect. Why? Yes. When you sit down and see all those silverware sitting there, don't panic. Because all you have to remember is that you work from outside in. So you use silverware according to the sequence of the courses. You're starting from outside going in, sequence of use. Okay? So there's only one spoon there, and not only that, the spoon should look like this. This is a soup spoon. It should look like this. It has a round bowl. This is a bowl of round shape, so it's easy to eat, and you know this is soup spoon. And this spoon, I got it from the internet. It's not a good spoon. It's not a good size spoon, a good shape spoon. This is a soup spoon, okay? All right. So, so soup spoon, generally speaking, is used with the soup dish, and there's an underliner. So you put it on the underliner, and the server will remove that soup spoon with it, with the soup. Okay? So the next course is fish. So which set of silverware would you use? Can you make a guess? For fish. You don't have to panic. If you're sitting there, you see all those silverware, the first thing people say, what do I do? Don't have to panic. Remember, you work from outside in. So which set, which knife, and which fork would you use for fish? Let me take a look. 8 and 2, perfect. Now, fish knife is shorter than regular knife, about this, I would say about 4/5 or 2/3. Looks almost like a baby knife. And fish, I don't have it here. Fish fork also is shorter, wider and shorter, I would say about 3/4 of this. And the tines are more blunt. As I said, they look like baby fork, baby knife. Mainly because you don't need to have sharp tines to cut into. You don't need to have sharp edge to cut. So this is why they're shorter, wider, and more blunt, purposely for fish, because with very little effort do you need to use silverware to eat, right? With. So, okay, you got 8 and 2. All right. So for next is a main dish. Which set of silverware would you use for meat? Which set of, now, because after the fish is gone, you place your silverware on the fish plate, and that's taken away. So next, you already know it's already there, so what else is there? because 8 and 2 are gone, and 9 is gone. So next is what? The knife. This is a spoon. That's gone. Soup spoon. This are gone. And now the next is 3 and 7. 3 and 7. The largest set, which will be something like this. The largest set. Because you need some effort. You need sharp edge to cut your meat. And larger fork. And sharper tines. Right? So you got it? Everybody's got it? Yeah. I might give you a diagram for you to label on the final exam. But anyway, I'm hoping. So you should know it. Okay? 3 and 7 are gone. So what's left? Because after you're done with meat, the silverware, 3 and 7 are taken away with your plate. By the way, the charger is already gone. Otherwise, you're going to mess it up. They don't want you to. And also, charger is about this wide, you know. The dinner plate is going to cover it anyway, so they don't want that. It was there only for you to appreciate it, to decorate your place setting, for you to appreciate, to adore. Okay, so what's next for the salad? Which silverware would you use for the salad? Maybe a couple of students at the back. Can you tell me? Those who have. 4. Good. 4. Because that's the only silverware that's left to begin with. And also, fork is what? Compared with the dinner fork, salad fork is what? Smaller. So is it smaller? Yeah, smaller than that dinner fork. That's another way you could tell. Okay, I should call you by name if I want to call you. Yeah? Janella? Are you Janella? She's answered. Selby? Did you put your name on? Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, thank you. All right, so now salad is gone. So now next is dessert. You've got basically, when salad fork is removed with a salad plate, it's gone. Basically, you've got everything gone, basically, in front of you. Yeah, Max, I know your name.
When you're eating your salad, you don't have any more knives on the table?
No. You're right. You have to be cautious because there's no more knife there. You're right. Normally, for American style, you use the knife for a variety of different items. So it's for multiple use. So they have to be cautious with that. The salads could not be a whole, a quarter wedge of lettuce, because otherwise they have to think ahead. It has to be bite-sized already. You're right. It's a good point, though, because there will be too many pieces of silverware if they could avoid putting another knife there. And it will be too confusing as it is. Too many courses already. So you're right. Generally speaking, maybe they would have sometimes. But if they do, where would it be located? If you have a salad fork, a salad knife, where would it be located? Right here, right? On the left side of 7, if they were to. But over here, you could do without it if you don't need a knife to cut anymore, if it's already in bite size. That's bite size, right? It's a good point, though. All right, so now everything is cleared. Once salad is finished, they remove your salad plate, and your fork is on your salad plate. Everything's gone. Dessert. Where would you? And then they have to serve you again. Usually, at this point, they might want to clean up your place setting a little bit. Okay. But anyway, where would your silverware be for dessert? What's left? Where are the 2 more pieces of silverware left? Where would it be? Where are they? They have not been removed. Where are they? On the top, yes. Anything, any silverware that's placed on the top of the dinner plate is always for dessert. Remember that, always for dessert. Because it means that everything else is gone. Sometimes they will reset. They come over here, they put these down for you. They reset for you. and they don't have to bring it in. They reset, or you bring them down, because that's all that's left. So those silverware, that set, number 12, always for after dinner dessert or beverages, whatever. Okay? So anything else that we did not talk about? Okay, napkin we talked about, bread and butter plate, small bit, and then we already talked about. What's 13, 14, and 15? What's 13? Water glass, good. Water glass is always at the top of dinner knife. And what are the other two glasses diagonally down, or 45 degrees down? It's set at a 45-degree angle. Did you see? What's number 15? Can you guess? Number 15. Did I say 14? Did I say 14? Let's start with 15. How's that? Can you tell me what 15 might be? Good. 15 is white wine. Why would it be white wine first? White wine is always served with what? Fish. Always served with fish now. And this is for 15. It's the first wine glass you're going to grab at. So they serve you wine, white wine, while they are serving you fish. Got it? So now what is 14? Red wine. Red wines to be served with what? Red meats. Always. Okay? All right, so did we cover everything? So let me just go over again just to make sure. Number 1 is napkin. Number 2 is fish fork. Number 3 is meat fork. 4 is salad fork. 5 is a soup bowl and plate. 6 is dinner plate or charger. At first it was charger. Dinner plate comes to replace the charger, okay? Number 7 is dinner knife. Number 8 is fish knife, right? Number 9, soup spoon. Number 10 is bread and butter plate. Number 11, butter knife, right? Butter knife could be placed this way, or sometimes they place it this way. Either way. But this looks good because it kind of lines up with these, okay? Generally speaking, that's the way it's set. Number 11. 12 is dessert silverware. 13, water glass. 14, red wine glass. White wine glass. 15. Okay, we got it all. No more questions, right? So next. No. Okay, posture. How do we eat? Sit straight. Just like when you go to a yoga class, they always tell you to stand straight, sit straight. Your back has to be straight. I mean, in fact, your head has to be straight, like along the wall. That's what yoga class is all about. It's all about posture and also stretching, right? Sit straight. It says, do not hunch over the shoulder over the plate. If we were to hunch over, this is my plate. We do not want you to do this. So what do we do? Move the body forward, move from the waist on, up, forward. Waist body forward from the hips and not from the waist or the shoulder. There's nothing like eating like this. It looks very ugly, inappropriate. Basically, we just lean over from the hips on, from here, and then because we cannot eat like this. When we sit straight. When we eat, we do have to bend over, but how? Do not hunch over the plate, but move the body forward from the hips on. Okay? And once you're doing this, so what do? You lift food to your mouth. You don't want to put your mouth too close to the plate. Lift food to the mouth. Do not lower your head to the food. Looks very ugly. I think a lot of this you know already. The old guideline is 1 foot distance. You're supposed to keep about 1 foot distance from the plate 1 foot. That's the way you're supposed to eat. Don't get too close. I was sent to a English boarding house, and those English matrons that actually walk around with a ruler. Okay, and if you hunch over a little too much, they'll just hit you. Later on, when we talk about bread, you know, very, very strict, the English boarding schools. Of course, elbows off the table. And see, when you go to the visitor room, any restaurant to eat, you see so many people, elbows on the table. Not allowed at a restaurant for fine dining. Elbows off the table, with exception though. There are 2 exceptions. One, if there's nothing at your table setting, everything's gone. Yes, you're just chit-chatting. There's nothing there, no plates, no silverware. Then you could just chit-chatting. You could just lean on, you're just chit-chatting with a friend. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not eating anymore, basically. Okay. The other exception is that sometimes if you just lean your hand over just a little bit, touch a little bit, it's still acceptable. I'll show you a photo. But definitely, elbow on is not acceptable. Okay. So what, in fact, the last sentence right here, left hand should be off the table. In reality, should be off the table completely when you eat. You eat with your right hand. I'm talking about the American style. We'll talk about the English style, the continental style, and the American style. Left hand should be off the table because you only need your right hand to eat with. So your left hand is down on your lap. Napkin etiquette. Again, let me know, where should the napkin be placed? This is the napkin, dinner napkin. I know it's dinner napkin. You know why I know? It's pretty big. And sometimes it's even bigger than this. I just got this from home. Napkins are always on the left, or sometimes it's in the middle. So what is the napkin etiquette? There's etiquette for everything. Napkin etiquette, we remove, if this is set on the side when you first get seated, and it was on the left side, you remove it it's on the left side, so you remove it with your left hand, and you unfold. You place it on the lap. Okay. Now, if it's very large, every once in a while, this is still pretty large. If it's very large, it kind of looks ugly, you know, because it looks as if it's like an apron, almost like. So if that's the case, then you could do according to, some people are larger than the others. For smaller ones, especially small-sized ladies, they could just fold it in half and put it on, or fold it this way, whatever that fits you, and put it on. It looks a lot better, so it doesn't look like an apron. Okay? Now, lunch napkin is smaller, like this. You could tell, medium size. And if you're using this, you could put, it's small, it's medium size. Don't fold it anymore because it can't cover your lap. So just put it on and it should look okay. How do you use your napkin? We don't want you to go, especially women with lipsticks on. We just basically would blot it. Basically what we want to do for good table etiquette, you want to keep your place setting clean, neat, and everything that you use clean as much as possible and neat. Of course, napkin is for you to blot your mouth if you need to, if you have dripping, you have to do that. But you don't have to yank it in as if like you're washing your face. Okay, what's important now next, if you must leave the table, I'm sitting here. I've got this napkin on me, and my phone rang, or I need to go to the ladies' room. So I get up. What do I do with the napkin? What do you do with a napkin to tell the server, I'm coming back momentarily. I just need to answer my phone call, or I need to walk out a little bit. Coming back. What do you do with this napkin? To tell the server you're coming back. How? Where do you put it? There's a signal for you to tell them. Good. On the chair. Great. You don't have to fold it exactly it. Just put it there. That means I'm coming back. Don't fold it too, nicely. Just, I'm coming back. This is a signal to tell the server, I'm coming back. Don't remove my place setting. Okay, now, when you finish with your dinner, I'm done. I'm not coming back. What do you do? Where do you put your napkin? Do you know? Does anybody know? On the left side. Good for you. On the left side. You don't have to fold it exactly, because otherwise they might think that it's a brand new one or something. It's been used, so you want to just basically do this and put it like this on the left side. I'm done. I'm not coming back anymore. Please take care of my place setting. Okay? Got it? I think I might have a question on this, and I don't have an answer here. I did it on purpose because I found out some students don't review my CourseStream. That means they never listen to my lecture, those who did not do well. So if they don't listen to my lecture, they won't be able to answer a lot of the questions. See, the reason why CourseStream is so good is that you could view it at home. Most of you do. I know how many people, you know how I knew? I could tell whether you viewed it or not. Academic technology is fantastic. They tell me exactly what you have done, what you have not done, how many have. So I always use this as an excuse. I'll tell you, how many times did you review? If a student fails and comes to my office, can you give me a passing grade C? I need it. Well, did you do your job? Let me see, how many times did you come to my classes? No. So did you view my CourseStream? They tell me exactly how many times and you viewed it and all that. Okay, so bread etiquette. Bread is always on the left side. Remember BMW already said that. Okay. Most often mistakenly used. So what happens if you just notice that your neighbor, your guest sitting next to you on the left side, used your dinner plate? What do you do? How do you handle it? You know what? Do you how would you handle it? Do you tell your guests? Sometimes if it's your good friend, it doesn't matter. If somebody who is a part of your party, it doesn't matter. You already know them. But what if somebody whom you never met before, you barely even talked to that person? So how would you handle it? Okay. All you have to do is to tell the server. Tell the server maybe on this side that your neighbor just used your bread plate, and the other person used it correctly, used the left one. And I'm left with none. I don't have a bread plate. And she will just laugh or smile, or he will smile, because it's a very common mistake. All that she or he would do is to come and bring you another bread plate and put bread on, because she already knows. It's a very common mistake. But when your neighbor sees that another plate is placed, then she would say, oh, I'm so sorry, I took your plate. That's mine, I'll switch or something. But anyway, that's probably the best way to do. Okay, bread plate is always on the left. Okay. Break one piece of bread. Okay, when you eat bread, often a piece of bread may be about this size, right? Or dinner plate about this. Do you put the whole bread in your mouth and bite? No. How do you do it? This is bread etiquette. What's the bread etiquette? Always break a piece. When I was in boarding school, this is what it is. Okay, Janet, put the bread down, put the bread down. I was biting on the bread. Put the bread down. I said, put it down. Scared me to death. What did I do wrong? Yeah. Break it up, break it up. So if I were to break it up into two, smaller, smaller, and they actually use a ruler to hit you lightly. It doesn't hit you, you're not going to get killed. But it's that ruler to tell you how far away you're supposed to be from the plate and everything else to kind of alert you. You're making a mistake. So you break it into half. It's two bite size. The actual bread etiquette is actually bite size. You take a bite size out, and then you put the butter on, and then you eat. That's the real bread etiquette. And when you're ready for the next mouthful, you do it again. But sometimes it's not convenient, nobody else does that. You're the only one taking a piece. So a smaller piece is fine, but not take the whole chunk or the whole bread, and all they see you is just biting on a big piece of bread or something, which looks ugly. Okay? And butter plate. A butter dish. That's also a common mistake. If you're sitting at the table, this is the table, and you've got 8 people sitting there, and the butter dish is not near you. Way over there, somebody already asked for it's happened to be over there. So what do? Do you reach in front of somebody and get it? No. Never reach in front of another person. So what you do is ask the person next to you, your neighbor, so-and-so, would you please pass the butter dish, please, so they know. They'll pass it. But don't do it in such a way that you're going to block the view, or don't reach in front of everyone. This is why in the visitor room, when at that time, when I was in charge of the visitor room, we made sure, even now, I'm sure the students do that, okay? Make sure, what was I going to say? It's a very common mistake that you reach in front of. So when you serve, don't serve in front of the guests, because you're blocking the view. You always, when you serve, you use your right hand to serve on the right side. Anything on the right side, you serve on the right side. Anything on the left side, you serve with your left side, with your hand at the back. That's the formal style of serving. So you don't reach in front of the guest. So if you were to give the guest the knife is on the right side, and if you're standing on the left side, you don't reach in front of the guest. You walk around and you put the knife, if they want another knife, on the right side. Now sometimes the guest is stuck in the corner, and you cannot walk across, you cannot walk behind. You have no choice but to have to reach. What do you say? Yeah, pardon me, excuse me for reaching. May I reach in front of you for this? Or actually it's this. So you have to tell them that you know about manners, and you just ask the guests to excuse you for reaching in front. So if the butter dish is pretty far away, ask for it to be passed. Do not reach. And use butter knife for butter. Don't use your dinner knife. Sometimes, if you don't have butter knife, you have no choice. But there is a reason. There's a reason for the butter knife. The butter knife, by the way, is very small. Fits right above the butter plate. So it looks a lot better, but you don't want to put gravy, on your bread or whatever. So if there is a butter knife, make sure you use a butter knife for buttering your bread. Okay? Okay. Oh, did I not advance it? Glassware. Glassware. Water glass is always placed at the tip of the knife. We already know that. And white wine, we already talked about it, is to be served. If it's to be served with red wine, has to come first. Along that, it's one straight line is what it is. Okay. White wine should always be chilled. Always be chilled. You knew that. A lot of you know that. Always chilled. Don't serve it at room temperature. Okay. And white wine should be poured. I'm going to sketch it for you. This is the white wine glass. This is a red wine glass. White wine could only be poured up to here maybe. And red wine should be poured no more than half or even quarter. No more than that. So white wine, no more than 2/3. That's white wine, the slim one. And why is that? Can you tell me why? And the more expensive red wine actually cannot even be poured to half. Can only be poured to here. The more expensive wine, generally speaking, those have been aged for years and years and years, could only be poured just at the bottom, to the bottom, 1/8 of a glass. Why is that? The reason we don't want to pour too much of this red wine because the fragrance and the flavor, the bouquet, we call it a bouquet, or the aroma, is so intense, so complicated. Because generally speaking, an expensive red wine has been stored in what? In a barrel, wooden barrel, depending on what kind of wood it is. Oak, generally speaking, they use oak. They could actually smell the oak. And the longer it's been stored, the more complicated is that bouquet. So what it is, you pour a little bit, you swirl that, you put your nose to it, you could smell. And for the connoisseur, those who really know wine connoisseurs could actually tell you what kind of barrel it's been stored in and how long it's been stored. And they could tell you all kinds of fragrance that you could smell, or they call it a bouquet, like a bouquet of flowers. Spell the same. So, and generally speaking, the more expensive is a wine, the longer it's been stored, okay, in the oak barrel, and the more complicated is the bouquet. And they would do it to the red wine more than the white. So this is why red wine, generally speaking, definitely red wine, no more, whether it's good or bad, no more than halfway or less. And white wine, generally speaking, often may be stored in stainless steel containers rather than the wooden barrels. So the bouquet is not as intense as a red wine. They still could smell. When they pour a little bit for you to smell, you still swirl, you smell, you could still smell whether it's, you could tell right away. The connoisseurs could tell you everything, how long it's been stored and all that. Stainless steel, what kind of wood was used and everything. So, and as I said, the less you pour, that means the more expensive is the wine. Now, white wine served chill white wine, always chill it. Red wine, always at room temperature. In California, the weather is pretty good. Usually it's moderate. So just leave it at room temperature is good. Because at that temperature, you could really smell the complicated bouquet, the intense aroma or the bouquet that you could smell at room temperature for red wine. So this is why, remember this. I have it in red when you serve. Red wine, room temperature. Okay, actually, because white wine is chilled, you hold it by the stem. You hold it by the stem right here. Because it's chilled, you don't want to hold it by the bowl, okay? Hold it by the stem. And red wine, you hold it. You can hold it red wine because it's already warm. The warmth of your hand is good for it. So you see people holding onto red wine glass like this, because you have the warmth of your hand to keep it warm. That's why that's the way they hold it. You see it. Okay. So you should know that. As servers, we have to remember that. Next, do not drink with food in your mouth. Often you see people who forget. I didn't clear my mouth. I'm chewing on something. Don't drink wine on top of food like that. Clear your mouth completely. Mouth closed, by the way, always. So do not drink food with food in mouth. When you go to any dinner with guests, people whom you do not know, or you're not the host, you're not the hostess, you don't want to order drink, you don't want to order alcohol first. If the guest, the host or hostess orders wine, then they ask, what would you like to have a glass of wine? Then you may also, if you wish to do so. But if you're going for a job interview, never order it during an interview, no. Okay. In fact, it's not a good idea for you to drink either. Utensil etiquette. We already know we use utensils from outside towards center. So they're placed in order of use. So you use them in order of use from outside going in. We already talked about that. You should know that. Okay. And when you use utensils, of course, right hand and the left hand. I'm not there yet. Always remember to keep the arms close to the body. Do not eat like this. Doesn't look good. I've seen in a restaurant. I've worked in this room for years. Everything looks good, but don't stretch it out like that. Keep your arms close to the body. And one thing you have to know is that once the silverware is picked up, you start eating. The silverware never touches the table again. Why? Once you picked it up and you've used it, you never put it back on the table. So where do they go? On the plate, yeah. And I'll show you where to put on the plate. Never on the table, because the table normally, if it's formal dining, the table is always set with a tablecloth, beautiful white tablecloth. You don't want to dirty it. It looks messy. It looks bad. So use silverware, anything that's used. Once it's picked up, they go back to the saucer, like for the cup and saucer, or the liner, maybe the soup underliner, the plate, or go back to the dinner plate. Okay, go back to the plate. Explain why, and that's why you don't want to dirty it. Okay. Now comes utensil etiquette. Utensil etiquette. Knife. You use your index finger on top of the blade. You wrap your fingers basically around it, and index finger on top. Fork with the tines pointed down, okay, and basically, if you need to use pressure, again, your index finger on the silverware. For training, they have training silverware, and they have indentation here, to teach children or teenagers how to use fork and knife. And this is the way the index finger goes right where, if there's any indentation in the training, these are training silverware, you know. There's indentation here. That's where your index finger should go. Okay. When you cut in one direction. We try not to saw. We'll cut it in one direction. 1 or 2 pieces at a time, because that's all you could eat, 1 or 2 pieces. Don't cut them all up. We do that in nursing home, because the nurses' aides would come and cut them all up, and then they could eat. But when we could cut our own meat, we only need to cut 1 or 2 pieces, that's all, at one time. Now let's take a look at the proper use of utensils. I already mentioned this is the way we use fork and knife when we cut. Fork and knife. Okay, let's take a look at the pictures here. Like this. I took this from the internet, but they didn't do a good job. I wish I could change it. Somebody could help me change it, would be great. But this is my last class, so like this. It says like this, not like this. What did he do wrong over there? What did he do wrong here? The way he holds the silverware. What did he do wrong? What was he doing? He was doing this. The index finger, not on this. He was doing this, right? And also, what was he doing here with a fork? That's what he was doing. Well, maybe babies or young children, they have to have more strength. They have to do that because you can't teach them yet. They don't have the control yet. But for adults, definitely not. This is the way to do it. Index finger on fork and knife. The only thing I don't like about this photo is that, take a look. That's why I wrote this. This is a problem. Did he do this? Yeah. He didn't, I don't think he looks good. I don't think he looks good here either. He had his arms like that. That's the only thing. Why did he draw like that? Just ruined the photo. But I couldn't find another photograph for you, another picture for you. So, oh, this is actually sketched. They could have sketched it differently. It could have been perfect. Okay. Okay, what else? Do not hold fork and knife with clench. I see it all the time in restaurants. Babies and children will be doing this. We never do that. This is why this looks so much better. Remember the picture and the training silverware that had this indentation there. This, generally speaking, maybe for small children, you could see a small child, a young boy, learning with clenched fists. Another thing we do is that when you do this, it looks as if you're trying to use silverware as a gesture or conversational point. Okay. It's actually very rude to do that. Actually, one time, remember when I was in the visitor room, there was a student who got into trouble. What happened? Okay, let me see. There was a student. It's all student assistants in the kitchen. So she was assisting the chef. And a student came in to pick up food, okay, and for service. And I forgot, for some reason, they got into an argument. So the student, the chef's assistant was cutting something. And he said, didn't I tell you to take this out? Didn't I tell you don't take this out? Don't take that plate? Okay. And when she was talking, she was going, "Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?" And the male student reported this. She looked as if that she was going to do something to harm, which looks really bad. It looks as if like you're getting into a fight. Don't you do this? You know? Very rude. Silverware is to be used properly for eating at the dinner table and not to be used as ammunition or gesture of any type. Because somebody else may not know this and thinking that you're going to try to hurt a student. So he reported it. It was a female student who did this. And it was a male student who reported it. And he had a point. Why did you point at me like that? So we don't want to do that. Use silverware the proper way. Let me see, am I on time? Yep. Now, earlier, we said that there are two ways of eating. Okay? One is European style, one is American style. Let's talk about continental or European style first. The way you hold silverware is still the same. But what is the difference? For the European style, the left hand holds the left fork. And what it is that the left hand is constantly on the fork. And the right hand is constantly on the knife. You cut a piece, and you use the fork to put the food in your mouth. And actually, you're constantly doing this. You never allow the fork to leave your hand, your left hand. Throughout the meal, I cut a piece, eat, cut a piece, and I want to push some food on one side, still the same. Constantly, this is the way. They never switch hand. European style, English style. Cut a piece. It's very amazing how they do. They do.
It's very cumbersome doing this.
Cumbersome? No. They used to do this. But they could push food, though. A lot of food. You'd be surprised. Quite a bit of food. Put it the tip of the tines, and then they eat it. Yeah. So left hand holds the left fork to place the food in, hold the food. The right hand on knife all the time push the food to the fork, actually constantly pushing the food. Cut and push the food and put it in the mouth. So this is the European style. If I show you a picture of this, you should know, right? Now, what is the American style? All of you would know because you're here in the United States. By the time table etiquette came to the United States, of course, at first they were very formal, and then they started changing American table etiquette. So now they said it's okay to switch hand. So with the American style, you cut one or two bites. If you have a piece of meat, you cut two pieces, one or two, no more than two. And you place the knife across on the top, like this. Place the knife across the top rim of the plate, which is a resting place, resting position. And you switch hand. You transfer the fork from left hand to right hand, and then you pick up the meat to eat. So let me see if I'm done with this. So if this is the dinner plate, this is a temporary position for the dinner knife. You cut a piece. I need to close it. You cut a piece of meat, or no more than two pieces. You switch hand. Your fork is still in your left hand, and now you switch the fork, right, to the right hand, and then you eat. So that's the American style. So both are acceptable. And let's take a look at the picture. Again, these two guys do spread their arms out too much. Other than that, you cut a piece, and you put the knife on the upper quarter, right-hand corner, And then you switch hand. You use your right hand now to eat. Fork now is in your right hand, and you eat this way. Continental style, continuously that way. So the left hand is used to put food in the mouth, whereas with American style, always switch. Not necessarily. You could eat European style just the same. Okay. The only difference you see is that with the American style, they would prefer to have your left hand always down on your lap. Because you cut, once you finish cutting, put your left hand down, not on the table, and then you eat with your right hand. But with the European style, you have no time to put your left hand on the lap because you're constantly using your left hand. Your hand is always on the fork. So basically, you don't put it on your lap. That's the only difference. But of course, you don't switch hand, you know. Makes sense, right? Anything else? Did we miss? No? Okay, next slide. There's etiquette for everything. Now with soup etiquette. How do we eat soup? Not very many people know how to eat soup. When you go to a fancy restaurant, you see a lot of people don't know how to eat soup. They eat it in all different ways. We say eat soup when there's substance in soup. If there are vegetable particles, meat, whatever, corn, whatever, then we eat with it. Eat. Okay. We drink it. Pick it up and drink it if it's only broth, clear broth. And the cups will be different. Let's take a look. This is a cup for broth for you to pick up because, look, there are two handles, right? You pick it up, actually, to drink. There's no food particles inside. You drink it. Chicken bouillon, beef broth, beef consommé. So you drink it. Here, if you have vegetables and tomatoes, all kinds of food particles in it, then they serve it in a bowl, generally speaking. And you could serve it in a cup too, but then you use a soup spoon. Okay, so you drink thin soups in cups such as broth. We say that we eat soup, or take the thick soup if it's thickened, or soups with vegetables or other bits of food. Then we eat. How do we eat it? If this is a spoon, generally speaking, we should spoon away from you. But of course now, even if you spoon this way, you're not wrong. But traditionally, according to the English style, European style, you dip away from you. Why is that? Do you know? You dip away, and then you eat on this side. Do you know why this is round? Why is the bowl round? Can you tell me? Because you can eat on any side. So you don't have to switch. You don't have to do this. You do this, you dip, you eat on the side. You could eat on any one of the sides. It's round. This is how you could recognize a soup spoon. You don't have to do this. It doesn't look good because you have to stretch your arm out, right? So you dip away from you. Why do you want to dip away? Anybody can guess. They suggest that's the traditional way, old-fashioned way.
Don't want to spread that out.
Well, yeah, maybe. But what is the main reason why they want you to dip away? Good. Not spill? Who said that? Good. You dip away so it doesn't, less tendency to spill. If it spills back on the onto the cup. Okay? So it doesn't spill. So traditionally, dip away from you so it does not splash. Avoid splashing on you. And you sip from the side. I already said that because it's a round bowl. It's more convenient. You don't have to do this. It doesn't look good. Eat here, especially for ladies. Doesn't it look much better? We never slurp soup. No noise when you eat soup. Okay. Everybody will be looking at you if you slurp in any of the Western countries, except for certain countries out on the other side. I think certain, was it Burmese or what? You know, if it tastes good, you're supposed to make noise.
What part of spoon or bowl that does not let you do slurping in any of the Western restaurants?
They don't let you.
Slurp.
Oh, right. Okay. Actually, Thai has very Thai people. I don't know whether if you go to Thailand, I thought that they have really good table etiquette. No noise at all when they eat. And they eat almost like the Western style. But of course, they use chopsticks. They use their own silverware and all that. But it's just that they're very, very polite. When they talk, they're very polite also. When they eat, absolutely no noise. They eat just like the Westerners do. Definitely no slurping. So it all depends on the country where you're from. Okay, I'm talking about Western style. You know, when you eat soup, you could take, they suggest you could take 2 bites or 2 sips. Actually, take a little bit at a time. Sometimes the soup is so hot, it may burn your mouth. So they said test it a little bit. The first bit is for testing the temperature. The second dip is to test the flavor. Okay, so the first dip should be a little bit because it might be very hot on your mouth. Okay, so the second one may take 2 bites, one for testing the temperature, the second for flavor. And do not blow. Okay, so if you want, you could get the side, you know, the soup around the edge, basically a little bit cooler than the real soup. So don't blow though. If it blows, it does not. If it's too hot, don't blow. It's not good manners. And don't eat crackers with soup. You're not going to get crackers anyway, so generally speaking, they're not going to serve you crackers. So, okay, so when you're done with soup, which I forgot to put it here, the soup silverware is going to go on the what? The underliner, or the plate under. Nothing goes onto a white tablecloth is what it is. Okay, or if there isn't any underliner, you put it back in the bowl, soup bowl, if it fits, if it's a wide soup bowl. Generally speaking, they serve you, even with this room, we used to serve with the underliner. So you put this, you could put it in the bowl or on the underliner, but not on the table. Remember, silverware, once it's picked up, never goes back to the tablecloth again. Keep your own, that's your house, your little own area. You want to keep it clean, okay? Let me see how much time I have. Good, I'm on time. Dining etiquette. When does eating begin? If you have a group of 8 people or so, 6 people, whatever, even 4, if you are a guest, do you eat first? Who starts eating? Who begins eating? The guest eats first? No. Make another guess. So if it's not the guest, host or hostess. Yes, always. The host or the hostess always leads the group. I usually like to put this question on the exam. Because when you get invited, don't start eating first until the company staff or manager or the recruiter begins eating. Then you start. Okay? Then you follow suit. And I don't have it here. If somebody doesn't review my CourseStream, that's where they will miss. That's why we have a wide range of, generally speaking, I have a wide range of grades. Students who do come to classes or review the CourseStream, it's the same. It's just that they don't get it. It's just that they don't get to interact with me. That's the only thing. Or those who never, I have students who never even, not never, they did it at the beginning, towards the end, second half, I could tell less and less people review the CourseStream. Then they're not going to be able to answer the questions. Everything I tell you in class basically is what's going to be on the test. Basically, I don't test you anything that's beyond that, beyond the notes, beyond my class lectures. Okay. When we eat, definitely mouth closed. mouth closed, Western culture. People do not like, I was going to put in another slide. I don't know whether I added this or not. Sometimes you're talking to the guests, we're talking to the host or the hostess, and you have you have a mouthful of food. What do you do? Yeah, good. Just say, I have food in my mouth, just wait. My granddaughters do that now. If they didn't get the message, I've got food in my mouth, just wait a bit. Okay. Wait until the food is all cleared. No, you don't open your mouth. Did you do that to show me? Basically, people do not like to see, especially a mouthful of food being chewed. To the Westerners, it's very ugly. Okay, don't open your mouth. Mouth is always closed. When you eat, keep your mouth closed. You could practice, you know. Sometimes they table etiquette classes. If they cannot do that, if they cannot eat with the mouth closed, they start with something soft first and have them chew at the back of the mouth. Practice, practice, practice until they know when they eat, they must close the mouth. Then they find out, there is a way to keep my mouth shut at all times, closed at all times while chewing. Talking does not begin until food is swallowed. Because to the Westerners, it's very, very unpleasant to see somebody chewing food in the mouth. And there are quite a few photos actually on the internet. I was going to show one to you, but then it didn't look good. I didn't want it to be in my lecture notes. And also, how do you clear your mouth quickly if somebody, your guest, or your guest of honor, all of a sudden wanted to talk to you, you were still chewing. How do you handle that? Keep the bites small. The fancier is the dinner, the more formal is the dinner, the more cautious you need to be about keeping the mouthful small so you could clear it very quickly. So keep bites small enough to quickly clear the mouth before talking. That's one trick, one way. Okay. And sometimes you see people piling so much food, and then they switch hands, put a big mouthful, piled with food in your mouth. You're not going to be able to clear your mouth very quickly. So be cautious when you go. Depends on what dinner. At home, doesn't matter. You can eat whichever way you want, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I covered it all. Next, a resting place. You see, you don't want to tell your server that you're coming back. I'm just stepping out. If you want to be stepping out to answer a phone call, or go to the ladies' room or men's room, you're coming back right away or shortly. And the server may not be around. So you want to communicate to the server, I'm coming back, don't pick up my plate. One way of telling this is that you still have food there, so she's not going to pick up or he's not going to pick up your plate. But sometimes you don't know. So what do you do to tell them? One way to do is the resting position. This is the resting position. Don't put the fork and the knife together. Put it in an angle both ways. That means I'm coming back. Please don't take my plate. Resting position. And when you're done, if you finish with everything, even though there might be some food there, you don't want to eat anymore, you ask the server to please pick it up. How do you signal that? Please pick up my plate. How do you do that? Put them together at an angle like this, generally speaking. Sometimes they put it straight, but usually 45 degrees is a good position to put it. That means I'm done. Please pick up my plate. So they don't have to ask you. They have no time to ask you, or you don't want to spend time to talk to the server because you're busy talking to somebody else. That's the signal. Okay? And at this point, usually students ask me a question. Nobody's asking me a question. Here, I will tell you that. Okay. Now, I purposely did it differently. Did you see the tines are up here, the tines are down here? Okay. Does that make any difference? Yeah? Because if it's down, generally speaking, because the English style is always what? Tines down, always. Of course, they would be doing it this way. So when they're done, what do? The tines would also be down. Did you see? My way and the way that tines will be down. Here, when the fork tines are up, what does it mean? Which style did she or he use? American style. American style. Because with the American style, so either way is okay. But generally speaking, because they use the tines down all the time, they have the tendency to do that with the tines down at all times. This could be the tines down. But the American way, often it would be like this. Does not matter. Okay. But this is a signal to tell them. But as I mentioned once before, once the silverware is picked up from the table, it never touches the table again. You want to keep your tablecloth clean. And miscellaneous points. Do not groom at the table. Don't put lipstick on at the table or use toothpicks. I know some people would do that. At least looks a little better in Chinese restaurants, Asian restaurants. That's why there are no toothpicks. Asians often ask for toothpicks at restaurants. I'm sorry, we don't have toothpicks. They don't like you to see you doing this. You could be excused and go to the ladies' room or men's room, and if you have some food stuck in your mouth, wash your hands and come back. But generally speaking, but now there are more and more restaurants, even on cruises. They have toothpicks available in restaurants for fine dining because there are more Asians who are going to cruises and these places to eat. So, but try to cover it if you could, like this, which will be much better, which is fine. Okay. Okay. The next point is, when do you start eating? If you have a party of 4, do you eat first? The other 2 people, if you have 2 guests who have not been served, the person next to me and I already have our dinner plate, but the other 2 have not been served. So what do? Do you wait for them to be served first? Yes. For small groups, absolutely. Up to 6, you should. Okay. But according to the etiquette book, if it's larger than 8, sometimes you have 10, 12, 18, 16, 18 people, then you go by sections. But of course, the hosts and hostess will say, would you, those who already got the plate, would you please go ahead and get started so the food does not get cold? Yes, it's okay. For larger groups, 12, 6, because you cannot wait. It takes time for them to get food plated and then brought in again. So sometimes you cannot. Otherwise, if you can wait, we do wait for everybody to be there before you start eating. We never use fingers to push food onto fork. Use silverware. Okay. Oh, this is very important, the last one. Even applicable. I've been using this all the time. When you get together with anybody you don't know very well, other than your own family members, there are 3 topics you should not talk about. Remember this. It's something, to me, very helpful for you to remember. What are the 3 topics you don't talk about when you have distant friends, guests, people whom you don't even know? What are the 3 topics? Huh? Religion, correct. One is religion, because it's very personal. And they get very upset if you are not in agreement with what their beliefs are, whatever. Okay, politics, yes. We just got done with that. No. Keep it to yourself, your own family, whatever. What is the third topic? You don't want to talk at the dinner table unless if they're really your family friends. You have to remember, because otherwise the best dinner can end up badly with ugly feelings, please. Okay, the third is what? Male and female topics. No.
So no gender?
No, no. Further than that, issues that have to do with male and female.
Oh.
Okay? So, or bad jokes. Very bad. Okay? Just that not appropriate at a restaurant for fine dining, at a special occasion, at an expensive wedding event or whatever. Okay? I hope you remember this for the rest of your life because it's very helpful. I even tell my very, very close friends, once they start bringing up politics or whatever, remember, I always tell my students, there are 3 topics you don't talk about. Because you don't want to get upset with me, I don't want to get upset with you, nobody wants to get upset with everybody else. Religion, no. The other, politics. And third, male and female issues, especially bad jokes, no. Pasta etiquette. How do we eat pasta? Now, this depends on what the pasta is like. Sometimes you have long strands of pasta. How do you eat it? You know, most restaurants give you a large spoon and pasta dish. A large spoon could very easily be a soup spoon, and you use a fork, dinner fork. What you do is that you have a bowl of pasta in front of you. Pick up a few strands, not too many strands, enough that you could put it around. And you use, the spoon is given to you to give you a lending hand for you to push your pasta, to twirl the few strands of pasta around. Then you've got it all collected here, and you put it in your mouth. It looks a lot better than strands of pasta hanging down all the way down to the bowl when you eat. So that's how it's used. Fork is used to spear just a few strands of spaghetti, long pasta, and the tips are placed against the spoon that's held in the left hand, and wrap the spaghetti around the fork so it's nicely collected here. Now you can put it in your mouth. Now, if the spoon is not given to you, you could ask for a spoon. In the visitor room, they used to ask for a spoon. Sometimes the students forgot. So if that's the case, if it's not provided for you, you don't want to ask for it, then you have the bowl. You know, pasta is usually served in a round bowl because there might be some nice sauce. So a round bowl like that, and you do the same thing. You use the side, the curved side, the inside, use that fork to rest against the side of the bowl, curve of the plate or the bowl. It's actually a plate, but a little bit rounded. Okay. Or on the plate. If it's on the plate, it's very difficult. Generally speaking, they serve you a little bit somewhat rounded, so you can do that. It's just that it looks a lot better. But if they give you a spoon, that's what that spoon is for, to help you with it. Okay. Finger food. I don't know whether I need to cover everything. I'm just going to generalize it. Any of the dry foods like cookies, cake without icing. Okay, sandwiches should be cut into half. If it's really big, you could even cut into quarters. Don't pick up large pieces of food into your mouth. But small pieces of food, dry food, are finger foods. You use your finger to eat. It's perfectly okay. General, perfectly okay. Muffins. But of course, you could break it up into bite size or smaller. It looks a lot better. Okay. Anything. Cake is not a finger food with icing. Cake is a finger food without icing because it's dry. It doesn't mess up your fingers. It looks bad, and you don't know how to. Basically, you want to keep your place setting clean, you want to keep a napkin somewhat clean also. You don't want to rub all the icing on the napkin. Okay, so next, small fruits. What else is finger food? Excuse me. Hello? Yeah, okay. Small fruits are finger foods. When you eat cherries, grapes, these are finger food. Use your finger. It's okay, perfectly okay. But how do you remove pits? It's perfectly okay. If you have pits in your mouth, you don't want to eat it, you don't want to swallow it, just remove it. People don't see it very much. And put it back on the side of your fruit plate. So remove the pits from the mouth with the thumb, and then put it on the side of the fruit plate. Okay. Apples, pears, the large fruits, peaches, how do you eat it? You cut it in half, cut it in a quarter, in quarters, 4 quarters, and then if you don't eat the skin, peel up, use a knife to remove the skin, and it's finger food. It's okay. But not the whole apple, not the whole pear. Watermelon, generally speaking, they don't serve you a big piece of watermelon at a restaurant for fine dining. Usually, they serve it already cut up nicely, maybe wedge, smaller pieces. And then you could use your fork. And then you could use a knife to cut up, because sometimes the watermelon piece may be a little too large. Use your fork, use your knife, and cut into small pieces and put it in your mouth. How about meats? Meats, of course, you cut up a piece of meat and you put it in your mouth. We never pick it up. We never pick it up to chew the meat off of the bones. Basically, we never do that, unless if it's picnic food. Okay. Chicken pieces, we use fork and knife to cut. In Europe, actually, even pizza is cut up. Cut everything up. Pizza, even French fries, you cut up and then put it in your mouth. For the United States, pizza is finger food. But we're talking about restaurant for fine dining. We're talking about fine dining here. So always use fork and knife. Finger food, generally speaking, is for picnics only. Watermelon, a whole piece of watermelon, large piece of watermelon, only for picnics. Okay. Now, for vegetable relishes, carrot sticks, celery sticks, those are finger food. It's okay, you could use your finger food. But then, generally speaking, at a restaurant for fine dining, this may not. Potato chips, you don't even serve it anyway. But it's very strange. When you go to France, you think that French fries will be very informal. They serve it for formal. They serve French fries is French fries. They serve it at a restaurant for fine dining, which I thought was very different. I thought that it was very informal food. But they eat it. That's why it's called French fries, I suppose. But they cut it up to eat it formally. Let me see. If lettuce, if they serve you a wedge of lettuce, you mentioned how do you cut it? Yeah. Use your knife and fork to cut it, to bite up to smaller pieces, and then you eat. Okay. French fries, basically in the United States, French fries, onion rings are not finger food. You don't use your finger. I mean, at a restaurant for fine dining. Sorry, restaurant for fine dining. Okay, so the last, okay, the hot beverage. How do you drink your coffee? How do you drink your tea? Okay, cup and saucer. When you serve cup and saucer, where does it go? Do you know? A set of cup and saucer. Where would it be? Where would they put it? I know in the visitor room they used to make mistakes all the time, and I used to tell the students, walk around, please put it on my right side. Put it on my right side, because if I didn't say anything, nobody would tell them. Always on the right side, your right hand. We assume majority of the people are right-handed. on the right side. And generally speaking, every once in a while, you're afraid that, oh, I want to have 2 cups, another cup later anyway. I want to have, every once in a while, you see somebody grabbing sugar packets, 4, 6, 8, because I'm going to have another cup of coffee. I like a lot of sugar. But generally speaking, 2 packs of sugar is all we need. Take whatever you need for 1 cup. When you grab too many, it just looks bad. And do not reach. If it's not cream and sugar, if it's not in front of you, just like the butter tray. If it's not in front of you, don't reach in front of somebody to take it. Ask somebody to pass it politely. Do not reach. Just ask politely, please pass the cream and sugar, please. And when you get the sugar packets, do not tear off completely. They prefer you to tear half or most of it and put the sugar in. And remember, you want to keep your place setting clean. So by the end of the meal, your place setting should look almost as clean as you first started. So if you have pieces of paper all over, first of all, it's difficult for them to pick up. It looks bad. So just tear a little bit, don't tear it off completely. Okay. As long as you get sugar into your coffee cup, which is fine. And slide it under the saucer or the plate liner. Slide, if this is the plate saucer and this is the cup, just put it under, hide it, basically is what it is. Don't expose it with, especially people who like sugar packets, all over, pieces of paper. It just does not look neat, is what it is. So after you've used sugar and cream, you stirred your coffee the way you want it, whatever sugar packets you want. Okay. Where do you put the spoon? Very important. Where do you put the spoon? You want to rest the spoon someplace because you're done stirring your coffee with sugar and cream. Where does the spoon go back to? On the what? Good. On the saucer. Remember, silverware never goes back to the tablecloth. Because that's why we serve most of the dishes on a saucer on the plate. Because you have a place now put. That's why always on the saucer. Right here. You see? That spoon on the saucer, doesn't that look good? That's the way it's supposed to be. Don't put it on the tablecloth. Never in the cup either. Looks bad. But not on the tablecloth either, on the saucer. Keep your own table setting clean and neat. Okay, one more, last one. Timing is just right. That's why I decided not to teach catering today because I was afraid that I wouldn't have enough time. I knew that this would take this long. This is a review. So is this correct? Yes, cutting the meat. When you cut it, American style, you cut it this way. Continental style, you cut it this way, right? You've got the index finger on the right position. A review, right? Is this correct?
No.
What's wrong?
The knife was clenched, like
Clenched fist. He was holding like this. Remember, we never. No. Okay. What is this? It says it's incorrect. What's wrong here? The fork. Correct. You see people actually eating like that, though. Maybe children, babies are okay, but your index finger in the right location, okay? And this was incorrect. And this is, oh, is that the same? Oh, how did that happen? Is there another one? That's it. Okay, good table manners, a terrific impression with those around you, and especially when you go for an interview. They always invite you to lunch. So make a good impression around the company that you're with. Hope you get and then next time I'm going to be talking about business etiquette, interviewing etiquette, interviewing questions to prepare you for your professional job. And the topics will be catering, which is a very short topic, I think, and then business and social etiquette, okay? And that will be the end. And the week after that, if I don't get a chance to finish up the topics next week, I could finish it up at the very, very last class. If I get everything done, then I'll just spend the time to review the materials. But I should have time. I'll definitely leave time to review, though. Okay? Oh, thank you.